The next one is dynamic and static characters. In dynamic characters, a character actually who undergoes significant internal change throughout the course of a story. Development on dynamic characters is often subtle and unstated. Most main characters and major characters in stories are dynamic. You can see easily in many novels that the characters are dynamic. And the next one is static characters. A static character actually is a type of character who remains largely the same throughout the course of the storyline. Their environment may change, but they retain the same. They retain the same personality and outlook as they had at the beginning of the story. It is common for secondary character in stories to be static. And the example of these dynamic characters, maybe you can see in the protagonist from Scout Finch. Scout actually as the major character in Harper Lee To Kill a Mockingbird. Do you know this story? Yes, this character actually undergoes significant emotion, maturation. So we call that one, he can be a dynamic character because she starts a self-focused young girl with little empathy as evidenced in her treatment of Bo Radel. And the second one, we can see the example of dynamic characters in Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Scrooge began as a cruel, miserly man, turning away from family members, and he refused to donate to the poor. So we can see that he is actually dynamic because at the end of the story, he has faced significant internal conflict and has grown into a giving person. So he changed from the one who is very hard to donate to the one as a giving person. And the static character we can see from Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes, even though that he is famous as detective character, actually Holmes continuously regards the world with the same witty, confident attitude, even after encountering serious conflict. And the next one you can see from Captain Hook. Captain Hook is the main antagonist of Peter Pan, the one with a different hand. Maybe you are familiar with this character when you were a child. And Captain Hook is a cruel and buffoonish pirate. He is a captain who remained cruel and buffoonish throughout the story, ultimately being bested by Peter Pan. He never significantly changed or learned any lessons. So what we can see from this character is that in static characters, the characters will not give a kind of change at the end of the story, different from the one in dynamic that at the end and at the beginning of the story are different. All right, the next one we can see from this explanation is characterization. If the previous one we discussed character, and the next one is characterization. What we see from characterization is that characterization actually is a attempt to show the character in the novel. And characterization is important part of building the story. These characters not only play stories but also play a role in conveying ideas, theme, plots, and motive. In presenting and determining into characterization of the characters, the author actually generally use with two methods. The first one, direct method, and the second one is indirect method. In indirect method, the character actually in literary work can present themselves directly through their behavior. In this case, the reader can analyze the characters themselves through several ways. Well, let's discuss about the example of direct, indirect characterizations. The first one is indirect method in characterizations. In indirect method, actually, the character in literary work can present themselves directly through their behavior. In this case, the reader can analyze the character themselves through several ways. The first one using the name of the character, the second one using the appearance, and the third one using the speech. When we use the name of characters, we can easily see from the name of the characters. The name of the character in literary work is often used to give ideas or to clarify or to sharpen the character features. The characters are given names to describe the characteristic qualities that distinguish them from other characters. Example, you can see from Scott Fitzgerald in The Great Gatsby. The character J. Gatsby, you know J. Gatsby, that's the handsome man, the rich man in The Great Gatsby. Well, J. Gatsby actually embodies the American dream. His name evokes notion of ambition and wealth. And Gatsby sounds glamorous and rich, contrasting with his humble beginning as James Gates. So his name actually previously is James Gates, and actually he likes to change with J. Gatsby. This name change reflects his desire to reinvent himself and achieve success, emphasizing his character aspiration and the theme of self-made identity. And the next one, using the appearance. So in indirect method and characterizations, you can see the appearance in the novel. So the novel can clarify the characters through the appearance. In a literary work, the appearance of the characters has very important role in relations to characterization. The appearance of the character refers to the certain condition, what clothes they wear, or how they express to this kind of appearance. The example you can see from Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. The character Ebenezer Scrooge is initially described as squinching, retching, rasping, or scraping, clutching as old sinner. So his clothing actually refers to dark, shabby, and worn. It mirrors his miserly personality. As the story progresses, his transformation is reflected in his appearance. After his redemption, he described in a brighter, more cheerful clothing and symbolizing his newfound generosity and joy. So the full appearance of Ebenezer Scrooge and the changes of his characters can be seen from the appearance of his clothes. Yeah? From dark, shabby, and worn, become more brighter and cheerful. The next one. The indirect method and characterization can be seen from speech. The authors give a kind of broad and free place to the author's own narrative in determining the story. The example you can see in J.K. Rowling Harry Potter's. In Harry Potter series, the character Draco Malfoy, the antagonist one, often uses naughty language and makes derogatory comments about Muggle born. This showcasing his elitist attitude and prejudice. His speech pattern filled with arrogance and disdain reveal his background and the expectation placed on him by his family. Through the dialogue, readers gain insight into his insecurities and the internal conflict he experienced throughout the series, especially in contrast to Harry characters that reflect more humble and inclusive speech. Well, the next one, the example in direct method. In direct method, the explanation of the story actually is done directly by the author. This method is usually used by the ancient storytelling stories, so that the reader only relies on explanation made by the authors alone. Characterizations through dialogue, as we can see, this is a kind of direct method. So you can see the characterization directly from the dialogue. So this divided into what is said by the characters and then what is discussed by the characters. The example you can see in Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. When the character, Mr. Collins, proposed to Elizabeth Bennet, he speaks in pompous, overly formal manner, emphasizing his connections to Lady Catherine de Bourgh on his own self-important way. And his dialogue actually reveals his lack of social awareness and insensitivity. And he is more concerned with the benefit of the marriage than with Elizabeth's feeling. And Austen's straightforward presentations of Mr. Collins' speech allows reader to understand that his character actually to understand his character directly without needing to enter or guessing. Well, the next one, the direct method characterization we can see from location and conversation situation. We can see from Ernest Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises. The key conversation occurs in bustling cafe in Paris during the daytime, where the characters engage in tight banter. The lively public setting contrasts with the serious personal discussion that take place in more intimate setting. Well, the whole direct method and characterization actually we can see exactly in the novel. So when you analyze the literary work, you can see the characterizations from indirect and direct method. Well, and the conclusion of this study then, there is characters and characterization. Characters describe the characters in the novel, but the characters can be seen from the characterizations that is written by the authors. And there are many kinds of characters like round and static, protagonist and antagonist. And in characterization, you are introduced to kinds of method. That one is direct and direct method. I think that will be all for this study, and then we will continue with plot discussion in the third meeting. I think that's all. Thank you. See you.